Hello and welcome to this Dawn Busters Taste Challenge. I wanted to start about 4 minutes ago, but right at 6 o'clock a.m. Central Daylight Time. But I got distracted with this article I was reading about an Australian cavalry charge in 1917 in Palestine during World War I, one of the last British cavalry charges. Anyway, today is Christian Brothers Grand Reserve V.S.O.P. brandy and very special original pale. They're calling it very special original pale versus Paul Masson Grand Amber brandy V.S.O.P. aged 4 years in oak barrels. This is aged, I'm not sure, they don't say, they just say extra aged in oak casks. Okay, so I don't know. The exact time, probably around 4 years. It is a VSOP. Has to be, I think, a minimum of 4 years, right? They said the VS is aged between 2 and 6. The VS between 2 and 6. I guess they just pull it for taste. Whenever it's tasting where they want it, they pull it. You can get the VS everywhere, and you can get the VSOP in a few places. Paul Masson. Trying to get this video going for the comments. Paul Masson is everywhere, especially the VS, the Grand Amber VS, but the VSOP is pretty much everywhere. It's more common. It's about $14 a bottle. This is about $15 a bottle. So the price is nearly identical. Now, from my recollection, the VSOP from Christian Brothers was much better. But that's from memory. And I'm not saying this one's bad. This is dynamite. Just that other one was more dynamiter. Mass Scratch Ticket says, oh, good morning. He says, I love that stuff, but prefer E&J. Yeah, the E&J VSOP, you notice they all have like a blue label. That's a good one. I just don't have any more of it. If I did, I'd put it in the taste challenge. I never did have a big bottle. I bought like a small bottle for, what was it? 400 milliliter bottle in Liverpool, New York last year. And so it didn't last long. Let's see. CB, Christian Brothers. And everybody's down and depressed, understandably, because of this mass killing massacre in Nevada and Las Vegas this week. So we're all shook up. And then here in Tom Petty died. That's got people feeling bad. I read a good article, interesting article in Lou Rockwell about, and I had read this before, the relationship between mass shootings and drug use. He was saying, the author, guy's name is Grimm, G-R-I-M-M, the last name. Talking about one factor people don't really ever talk about guns and everything, but they don't talk about the psychotropic drug use, like the Islamic death cults, that they almost all of these guys are hopped up on pills, because it's a very tiny percentage of the Islamic population that's doing these suicide attacks. And they get them hooked. So they were saying ISIS is more like a drug-infused death cult. And there's a lot to be said for that, because remember the Assassins, remember that? The old cult, the Assassins, was sort of the similar type thing, Islamic death cult. you know, Middle Eastern death cult, but they were hopped up on drugs too, you see. So they would, and we know the history of cults. They tend to pull people in and they focus on a lot of drug use. So, but you get these mass shooters in America, they are whacked out on pills and those mind-altering, mood-altering psychotropics. They want to hurt themselves and then but hurt others, and they get crazy. And you watch the commercials on TV, they always talk about this drug may cause suicidal thoughts. It's like, wow, I really want to take that. Okay, so but they don't talk too much about that on the major media. Did you hear about the shooting, says Mr. Tank? Everybody's heard about that. Who hasn't heard about it? All that alcohol giving you severe sleep deprivation again? Yeah. Then the article did talk about alcohol, you know, how that can affect people. Why does a little small guy try to fight a bunch of big people? Alcohol, men raping women, or getting in trouble at work. But they were saying that, you know, but he didn't say, well, everybody drinks alcohol is going to do that. He said, usually these people have a generally weak personality to start with. You know what I mean? Their psychological makeup is not good already. They've already got questionable ethics and morality or whatever already. But then the alcohol, right? What does alcohol do? It lowers the inhibitions. In some cases, it takes them completely away when people drink too much. So then they'll do the stupid things that they would never do normally. Okay, and then the drugs, that's a whole different, that almost changes the mindset. And I'd be curious to see if this recent killer in Las Vegas, 64 years old, had a history of psychotropic drug use. My best bet would be, yeah, probably so. Now, definitely, there's a shade difference. Maybe you could see that. This one is much darker than that one. This one's golden. This one's deep amber. The Paul Masson is much darker. Why? I don't know. They use different blends of grapes and brandies. These are blended brandies. They use different brandies, blending them together to achieve a desired flavor according to what their protocols are. I know this one's aged 4 years in charred oak barrels. They use the leftover bourbon barrels from like very old Barton and other bourbon, okay? This is from Heaven Hill, so they're probably using Heaven Hill bourbons, whatever brands, Evan Williams, Heaven Hill. But I don't know if they're aging it as long. And okay, so it's lighter gold. Oh, well, I'm not. I mean, they both look pretty. They just don't look the same. I think I'm gonna have to keep my eyes closed, right? Because that'd be a dead giveaway without any kind of second guessing. You'll see the sun slowly. I see the blue in the sky instead of the black. Daylight is coming. So definitely the appearance would be a dead giveaway. So my theory is I will be able to tell them apart. I drank, you can see nearly half the bottle of the Paul Masson. Just a little bit of the Christian Brothers, only had one sampling. But it was so distinct in the flavor, I just posted a solo review of it, recorded review, that I think I'll be able to tell them. Okay. I'm trying to see if the weight is different. This one seems a little heavier. No, I was wrong. It wasn't. Just checking. I want to factor out any variables, right? There is a Christian Brothers XO in a strangely shaped bottle. Now I got a feeling it's probably going to be a lot more than $15. It's a lot more difficult to find. I know that much. I can't get it in Louisiana, the XO, and I've never seen it. I went to Kentucky, like I said, Tennessee, other states looking. I didn't see it. There's the Christian Brothers Frost. You know, that clear brandy, sort of like a gimmick brandy. I did see that somewhere, but I didn't buy it. I said, it's like when they made clear Pepsi, and that was supposed to be some big deal. Just because they made it clear, I don't care about that. Might be good. I never tried any of their flavors, the peach, the apple, the whatever they've got. I don't think. Oh yeah, and I haven't tried any of the Paul Masson flavored. I don't mess with that stuff. Okay. And there are some Paul Masson really expensive brandies. They come in this heart-shaped bottle. Really weird looking. Like they don't show it on the website, but I've seen it on some California liquor sites, like where you can order them, or just California liquor stores, like maybe B.V.O.P. And I didn't remember the price, but I think it was rather expensive. And it's apparently just a California produced and sold, but probably at the original Christian Brothers winery and distillery out there in what, Napa Valley, or somewhere, wherever he started, I can't remember. But all the ones we get are from the east of the Mississippi River, right? They're probably getting grapes from New York, and they're doing the brandy in New York, and they're shipping it down to Kentucky to blend it and age it and bottle it. So it's sort of like two different versions of it. And then the Christian Brothers Catholic order gets a cut of the profits. I know that because I read that on their website. They just got out of the business in 1987, the production side, because it was probably a lot of overhead. Plus the old distiller master died, Brother Theodore, and he had won all these awards, and they didn't really have anybody who was interested in doing it, apparently. But Heaven Hill had the people to do it. Paul Masson, same thing. He died in 1940. His family continued to run it. Then, you know how that goes. They kind of lost interest. So then a big company comes along, and that company today is known as Constellation Brands. Okay, Constellation Brands sort of like evolved from Taylor Wine, you know, Taylor Wine Company, Canandaigua, New York. So it's sort of like became Constellation Brands. And that's why I see Taylor Wine everywhere. Plus a lot of other stuff that they own, like Ballast Point. Ever since they acquired Ballast Point beer, you see that everywhere. We never got it in Louisiana until Constellation bought it. But they're a really good company as far as sort of like openness and disclosure, because if you get on their website, I don't care which wine or beer, whatever you find, and it's files, okay? You got to bring up files, PDF files, really, because there's so much that they just have it stored there, you know, and whatever. And I don't care, the cheapest wine, the most expensive, doesn't matter. They cover everything from the top to the low. And then it'll give you all kind of information, what kind of grapes they use, who's their winemaker. I mean, that's their main area, but they do spirits and they do beer. So it's pretty complex and helpful. Heaven Hill's pretty good too now. And they have, I was about to say thousands, at least literally hundreds of brands. And they do the high and the low as well. They have this brandy, and then the VSQ, which I've never seen, like a cheaper brandy. And then they have the Ansac Cognac, which they handle that in America. They may own it in France, I don't know. Well, I'm just enjoying smelling it, honestly. Dried flowers, the candied fruit cake, fruit, some mint, nut oil, grape skins, nectar, some nougat. You know, a lot of these will have nougat and even cocoa powder. And that's why I like tasting these whiskeys and gins and brandies, because they've got so many complex flavor, more of a taster than a drinker. And I like to do it neat because you can really get all the flavor. I don't know, I'm not going to mix it with RC Cola. Whoa. Hold the boat. Oh, wow. This one is even more cocoa powder. There is no such item put into these brandies. Just like the whiskeys don't have mint added. Oh. I'm glad I blabbed a little bit because it lets them breathe. If you don't let them breathe, they might have a little skunkiness. I know they don't have hop oil, but They are clear bottle. It just it goes right away. There's almost like a, yeah, it's the cocoa powder, the nougat, the caramel, the dried flowers. Ooh, I already think this is the Christian Brothers, and that is the Paul Masson, but I don't know. Well, as far as aroma, they're both so exquisite and exotic and elaborate and complex, etc., that I would say either way you go, you're getting a great benefit and no negative. $14, $15. I say go for it. Buy both. Try both. Taste. Dawn, dawn. Here comes dawn. Woo! So peppery. You almost think they have rye added. They don't. But what are they aged in? Yes, used what? Bourbon barrels. Could there be some residual rye character left behind in those barrels? One has to wonder. Man, I went into that barrel house at Barton Distillery in Bardstown, Kentucky. Had 22,000 barrels in there. And the girl said, yeah, half these barrels are used for, and before I could say it, she said, brandy. I knew that. She said, we age Paul Masson brandy. That's two different companies, so they're doing it under contract. They just pay them. They like rent their barrels. And that room smelled, I mean, it just smelled like whiskey and brandy, and it didn't smell rancid or old. It just was like a perfume, aromatic, charcoal, rich liquor wood aroma inside there. It was something to smell, and old dust. It was dusty. It was really some old wood. And then she said the building is built to where it like leans inward in a way a bit. She said in case it starts to fall, it'll all fall inward. And they have these plumb lines, and they have to be completely plumb. She said if it starts to swing one way or the other, she said you have to immediately exit the house because it's about to fall. So would I recommend a tour at Barton Distillery? Highly recommend it. Highly recommend it. Oh, did I mention that I highly recommend it? And not to mention also that it's free and you get so much sampling at the end. Totally free. Same thing with Buffalo Trace, totally free. The company said they do not want to be on the Bourbon Trail, Kentucky Bourbon Trail, because then you have to pay a fee to be part of the Bourbon Trail Association, and they're required to charge admission to their tours. And they said they didn't feel comfortable charging people to see how they made stuff. They said they said they want to give free tours and they want to give free samples, and then they said the people will appreciate it and buy a lot more of their products, and that's how they'll get their money back. So that's their philosophy. They don't believe in, they feel like they say it's sort of a ripoff. They said they used to be on the Bourbon Trail, but they quit because they didn't feel right about it. That's what they said. Now, I don't speak for Sazerac Company. Lots of fruit, sugar, caramel, nougat, even nut oil like walnut oil, char from the charred barrels, and that charcoal's thick in those barrels. I thought they just burnt it a little bit. They really burn it. They just catch it on fire and it's just burning, burning, burning. I think that one has more rye spice. A lot of bourbon drinkers and whiskey drinkers have told me they never had tasted brandy. You're missing out. You need to not run run to the liquor store and start exploring brandy. I'm telling you, it's cheaper than whiskey. Not that it's cheaper to make. It's just cheaper because it's not that popular today relative to whiskey and bourbon. Like right now, it's this bourbon thing going on, like with craft beer. So the price has gone whoa, 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 up through the roof. 40 years ago, brandy was more expensive than bourbon. Bourbon was like a cheap. It was sort of looked down on as like, why are you drinking that? Drink something good like vodka. Drink something good like gin. Be a man. Drink some brandy. But then, you know, in the 80s, it changed. Started to change slowly. Was it 1984? They started the first single barrel. Can't remember which brand. Single barrel, and that kind of got people interested. And I guess the big corporate buyouts, they made this big push to make bourbon have cachet. So the whole image has changed, you know. Same thing with beer drinking. You know, beer drinking used to be like, you drink beer, okay, and the sophisticated people, they'll drink spirits. Now you get the beer snobbery, right? Oh, you gotta drop names and talk about how you never drink any of it. I don't drink it. I'll just save it. Beer is not for drinking. It's for sharing and saving. And people say, yeah, I was talking to Scott Schrader, you know, the brewmaster at Ticonderoga Brewing. We were hanging out at a restaurant. He might have run into the guy at a restaurant and said, hi, I'm Clyde. You know, I'm a single video game guy, and I really love your beers, man. And the guy was like, oh, okay, well, bye. Try to take off and get away. But then he'll go talk about how they hung out. Ooh, oh, you better watch it, though, because this stuff will sneak. It'll sneak up on you because it's up 80 proof, and it's so sweet. And like I was saying when I did the solo review, almost savory, right? So ooh, it's a little different than whiskey. Whiskey and bourbon has like a little stop sign. You know, it's saying, watch it, watch it, watch it. You know, kind of there's little signposts as you sip on it. Brandy doesn't really have those stop points. So I just choked on the spice. Oh, don't get that caught in your throat and choke on it. Yow, what a burn. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, made my eyes water. Whoa. Okay. Well, I guess that's a signpost, huh? But that was a little accident. Oh. Okay. Rein it in, rein it in. All right. This is not as easy as I thought. Nope. Well, as far as quality, it's a tie, more or less. But I think this is the Christian Brothers. It's got a little bit more of that almost like pomegranate or apricot. I couldn't really pin it down the other day, but somehow choking just now made me realize what that was. Pomegranate. Let's see. Let's see. I don't know. Yeah. That's the key. When you're doing these taste challenges, you want to have like a little attack. Then you can get them right. So Christian Brothers, as far as a winner though, I don't know. Yeah, I'll open my eyes. Dennis Day says, good day, Ron. I have not tasted either of these two. I would recommend it. Whichever you prefer more, I will have to make a trip to the store and try. If the Christian Brothers is better, it's only better by a shade. A little bit. But I'm not going to call it a winner. $14 a bottle, $15 a bottle. That's so close that you need to buy both, I would say. Mr. Tank said I had some 2002 Merlot last night. What? I drank a whole bottle with my friend. Uh-oh. Some Charles Shaw. I see. He says, open your eyes. Well, I have, because the challenge is over. Andy writes his morning from Mississippi. Hey, good morning. My grandmother grew up in Mississippi, Bay St. Louis. They used to own a grocery store, a general store called Osinox. And it closed in 1969. But it had been open since, like, I don't know, 1929 to 1969. Osinox. Mr. Tank says, open your eyes. They're open. They're open. Andy Wright. He loves the Paul Masson. Oh, yes. Me too. Look, I'm finishing it off. PM, Paul Masson. Don't you love when both of them are a winner? They're both winners. You can just keep winning and winning and winning. Oh, that was a little traumatic, though, that little choking and with the brandy getting stuck right in my throat. It was almost like acid reflux without the acid reflux without the acid. It was acid reflux with brandy getting caught right there. And it was like fire. Somebody lit a fire in my throat. Wow. So that's why my nose is running now. My eyes are watering. Oh, well, if you can avoid that little incident, I think your whole experience will be mighty fine. But anyway, so the next taste challenge I'm going to do, I do believe, the Saint Remy against the Christian Brothers. Now, Saint Remy, yeah, it's old. But, you know, I think their VSOP is only from like 1980. So that one's not that old. And as far as I know, the Paul Masson may not be that old. I don't even think Paul Masson started brandy till 1965. I saw a 1965 magazine article, magazine ad, and they were saying introducing, and it was like, you've loved our wines for years. So now we're going to sell brandy. And I know Christian Brothers brandy started about 1940. But when they instituted the VSOP, I have no idea. And when did they bring in the XO? I don't know. They don't have anything about that on the website. So that's a mystery. And I'm not that interested in solving it. You know what I mean? It's not that important. All right, so word of advice, don't choke on brandy. But I would recommend trying both because they are dynamite. You like dynamite products? Here are two great choices. Winner and a winner. This is a dual winner, but maybe maybe the Christian Brothers VSOP wins by a nose. But I'm not going to call it. I'm saying maybe. All right, thanks for watching this video production. You take care. Oh, and tomorrow night at 6:30 Central Time, examine Evan Williams bourbon, the Black Label.